puck drops here. The puck drops here. The puck drops here. So let's make a lot of noise and raise a big cheer. So let's make a lot of noise and raise a big cheer. Come on along, we're all invited to the coolest game on earth.
We're here for the third episode of the Junior Hockey Network Hockey Show with Wayne Strachan. How are you today, Wayne?
I'm good, Jay. Thanks. How are you?
Good, good. You're only 2 games into the season, but you opened the season with 2 wins, with the second one coming on September 22nd after the overtime win against the Dryden Ice Dogs. Can you talk a little bit about the 22nd win in Holt Lakes against the Minnesota Iron Rangers?
Well, got off to a bit of a slow start. Even though we probably carried the play, we just never generated any sound scoring chances or had that hunger to finish and get ourselves the lead. But we responded well after the first and heading into the second. I guess for the second night, Brett Hackler got us on the board first, and then we seemed to kind of settle and play our game. And I thought we played fast. I thought we played aggressive through the second period and really created a lot of opportunities to help our cause in having success in scoring. So it was good to see. We carried that over to the third and we're able to get out a hard-fought 6-2 victory. One thing I've liked through the 2 games is the positiveness on the bench the guys have had and the will to want to battle right to the end and get the job done.
And like I say, you've been quite impressed with rookie Ethan Knudsen, his first 2 games with the Lakers. And what do you expect from this 18-year-old from Edmonton this season?
Well, I think Ethan's only going to get better as we go along into the season here. He's a player who, unfortunately had an illness last year and didn't get to play really any serious level of hockey. And he's worked hard to get himself back in good shape. He's worked hard over the summer to get stronger, and I really like what I see in him. He's a dynamic skater. He's got great speed. He works hard every day. He wants to learn, and he's got a good skill set that I think once he gets comfortable with the level of play and back in the swing of hockey things after being off last season, I think he's going to be a dangerous player for us throughout the year. But up until now, he's used that speed in the right ways, and he's really clicked with Kirk Kopic and Jaden Ness on his wings, and that line's they were a big factor in our win on Saturday, and like I said, he's got a huge upside, and he's only going to get better as this year goes on.
And like you had mentioned, Jaden Ness, he came into his own later in the season last year, and he's really stepped up as a veteran. Can you talk a little bit about Jaden?
Well, Jaden, he has endless work ethic, hard work. Unfortunately, he suffered an injury in practice the other day, which might set him back for a couple of weeks here, but we're just waiting on final details. But he's a gamer, a guy who comes to play every night. What you're going to get out of him, and he puts himself in situations where he can create offense and have success. And if you've seen his goals, they're pretty. They've been pretty nice, but he's put himself in, high slot net area where you got to get to and have those opportunities to put them in.
And the other thing is, you mentioned Brett Hackler being a veteran coming back up north. Is it something about is it you, or you like to bring a lot of brothers into your system? You have Ethan, you have Nick and Nick and Brett. Is over the last couple of years you've had a lot of brothers. Is that good for the roster? Or?
Oh, I think it can be, and obviously with Brett and Nick, they're both local guys, so it definitely helps us out in a lot of ways, especially fan base wise. And they're two guys that have explored other avenues, and both playing in Thunder Bay, Brett in Arizona and Powassan, and Nick down in North Bay as well. So it's good to get them back. We always like homegrown talent, and especially when they can contribute on a nightly basis for us. Having brothers brings in that chemistry, and they get along well, and sometimes they get under each other's skin, but that's part of the game, and it's just like having a family around, and not everyone's going to get along at once or at the same time, and there's a little bit of bickering, but in the end there's good chemistry, and obviously it brings a good fold to the team.
And also sibling rivalry can also motivate each other too, right?
For sure. And Nick's a little younger than Brett, and kind of learning the junior way as well, but he just has to watch what Brett does, and he's brought a lot to our team, and Nick's a hard worker, and he's only going to get better as the season goes on as well, and contribute to the team.
And we know it's only week one of this for you guys, but for the CJHL top 20 rankings came out, and the Lakers sit 5th overall in the standings. And it's been, like I say, last season you guys have been used to being in the standings. Last season it was a little bit harder season for you, but does the franchise put any bearing throughout the season on these rankings, and how they compare to the 132 junior franchises across the country?
Well, I think it's definitely a great honor, and the boys have worked hard to deserve it so far, and gives you, I guess, a good feeling and some confidence heading into the season. But in the end, I think we realize we got a lot of hard work ahead of us, or at least I hope we think that. And if we want to be a top team in the league or the CJHL, it's not going to be easy, and we're going to have to dedicate ourselves every day. So I hope we look at it in a positive way, and be proud of where we are in the rankings, and maybe set the bar high, and now that we're there, let's remain there and see what we can do throughout the season. And as far as comparing to other leagues or how the rankings work, it's good to see, I guess, where you measure, but in the end, there's a lot of good teams all over the CJHL, and there's 133 of them, or 132 of them, and only 20 get ranked, and there's a lot of good teams that aren't on that list, and on any given night, if you met them, you better be at your best to play, and obviously to have success.
And like I say, September 28th and 29th this weekend, you have the 1-0-1 Thunder Bay North Stars and the 0-2 Minnesota Iron Rangers coming in the Ice for Kids Arena for your first 2 home games of the season. Can you talk a little bit about what Laker Nation can expect this upcoming weekend on your opening weekend in Fort Frances?
Well, I think they can expect a fast, aggressive team, and a team that's going to be hungry. And obviously tomorrow night we're gonna raise our Humboldt banner and honor. We play for them and before the game, and hopefully we go out there and put a good showing on after that. And we're gonna have to play 60 minutes of our game tomorrow night and stay focused and work hard right until the end to have success. And then Saturday is going to be a huge test against Thunder Bay. They have a dynamic offense that can hurt you on any night, and some veteran players that are some of the best in the league, both on forward and defense. They have solid goaltending, so it's going to be a good measure for us, or a good test this early in the season, and we're going to have to see how we respond and rise up to that level.
Well, Wayne, I can't thank you enough for taking time out today to sit with us, and hopefully we talk next week.
Sounds great, Jay. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay tuned for the second half of the Junior Hockey Network Hockey Show with Jason Fortier of the Coquitlam Express of the British Columbia Hockey League. We are here with our second guest of the Junior Hockey Network Hockey Show, Jason Fortier of the Coquitlam Express of the BCHL. How are you today, Jay?
I'm good, thanks.
You joined the team last year in late November, and like I say, now going into your second season. Can you talk a little bit about joining Coquitlam and comparable to coaching in Ontario?
Well, it was an opportunity to come out here. I'd been in junior A for a long time in the Toronto area, and then having coached in the Q and the O. Had an opportunity to come back as an assistant somewhere in the O, and it probably wasn't really what I was looking for, and wanted to get back to being a head coach again. So this opportunity came out. I'd already been out here for the national championship. We were in Vernon, and it blew our mind, like compared to what we were used to seeing out in Toronto and our league. And then you come out here and you're playing in front of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 fans. The facilities are a little bit different. There's some comparables, but there's also some differences. The depth, I would say, in the league is a little bit stronger, but OJHL still had some phenomenal talent. It's just I think it's a little bit older league, a little bit more depth, and most of the kids are out of high school here. So your scheduling can be a little bit more friendly to trying to be out of the office at 6:00.
And I use it's not against the other 9 leagues in the country, but the BCHL their teams are ran more like a professional hockey program, right?
Well, I would say every team's a little bit different, but for instance, when I came out here, there was some things that we knew we needed to change in order for success to follow. I'll use BCHL as a staple. So when we recruit through the name of the BCHL. Our program. So basically, every day our players are in the gym at 11, and we're on the ice at 1:45 or 2:15, depending on the day. We have a video coach that does all our games. We are essentially very similar to how it was when I was in the Q or the OHL. Our kids all get 12 hockey sticks. Some teams are charging a billet fee this year, but if some team charges a billet fee of $2,500 and a kid's got 12 hockey sticks, I think that's a pretty easy trade-off.
Exactly.
And then you have the others that they don't charge anything. It's just, it's depending on what you have, but you still get road trips, still have overnight stays. It's actually a little bit more similar to, when you're playing major junior and you're going on the road with your teammates, you're building those friendships on the road where you get to stay overnight and stuff like that.
And talking about friendships and and players. Can you talk a little bit about Dearborn Heights, Michigan veteran forward Josh Woodauer, who in his second year is averaging about a point a game? Can you talk about him so far this season?
Yeah, Willie's one of those kids that's a heart and soul warrior. My first month here with the team, he was very coachable. When I thought, hey, this kid's pretty good, I really like his effort. He practiced hard. Then he just kept getting better and better, and he ended up finishing on our first line last year. And, this year he's played on all 3 lines. He's one of those guys that can go and be an energy guy in line. He's a guy that can be a puck possession, puck retrieval. He's got a lot of multitude of assets in his toolbox. So right now he's on our first line, and he's really helped that line, kind of come together and round out. We're really happy with the way he's playing, and I think he's a guy that gives you a true, honest effort every night. He's got some puck skills, and he knows where the net is.
And as a coach, I'd say you're never happy with a loss, but you're 7 games into the season, and are you happy where you're at so far with the 7 games?
Yeah, I think after 7, or I think we played 8 now. We played last night as well. Um, so I think right now we're 5-3, and you know, if we had some luck and maybe some bounces, we could be 7-1. But I think just with the group we have coming in, a lot of new faces. We're basically in our rebuild here. We know we're going to have some tough days ahead, and that's just the way it goes. But right now, game 2, game 3 of the season went on a tough road trip and played Prince George. They got a lot of returning players back, and they were in the league finals last year. And first game, I thought there were some good opportunities. We had some chances to put it away. And it was a tie game. We scored a goal late in the third, and they disallowed it. And you know what? Sometimes you don't get the breaks. And then they ended up scored an empty net. And game 2, I thought they pretty much hammered us top to bottom, energy, effort, desire, puck play, support. They basically taught us a lesson. And our guys, I think, took it to heart, and essentially, I believe, it was a real good lesson for them.
And that's, again, you don't want a loss, but it's great to do it early in the season. And a loss like that, like say we taught them a lesson, and open their eyes, is sometimes good for the players, right?
Well, I think everything's a lesson, win or lose, because there's some negatives in a win as well. But yeah, no, I don't want to lose any game personally. And our mandate this year is come to the rink every day with the belief that you're going to win, and you have to put the effort in for it. But let's face it, in reality, you're never going to succeed at everything you do. So the goal is to at least try.
Exactly. And now heading a little bit farther east in Prince Edward Island native Dallas Farrell. He's his first season there. He's an 18-year-old right now, will be 19. He's committed to the NCAA Division 1 University of Maine for 2019-20. Can you talk a little bit about his season so far?
Yeah, Dallas came to us and has been a pleasant surprise. He's probably our most gifted player with the puck. He's got an innate vision. He's got unbelievable hands. He's got some things in his game. He's definitely got to round out to get to the college level and make an impact. But I believe a lot of those things that I'm talking about are just going to be choices he's going to have to make on the ice. Of does he want to be the F1 today? Does he want to? Those ultra skill guys, sometimes they just got to make the choice of how they're going to impact their line. But he's not a big guy, but he can play heavy. He's got the edge work. He's got the grit. I'm sure some guys around the league want to get under his skin because he likes to get under theirs. But we're lucky to have him. He's the type of guy that can change the game in a shift. So that's a positive thing to have.
And it shows he's got 1 goal, 5 assists before last night's game, and 12 minutes in 7 games. So he's willing to throw the body around, isn't he?
Yeah, listen, he's not going to be running around killing guys, but he's not afraid to throw to throw a check and get in somebody's face. And I don't think you're going to see him leading the league in fights or anything, but he's going to be the guy that at least gets to the point where it's close, and then I think he knows what he's going to be doing after that is just probably getting back to calm. He loves the game of hockey. The kid is literally that guy that just loves hockey, and he probably works hockey schools all day long in the summer and works his craft while he's teaching kids. Like he's got some really good abilities to make the puck dance out there. That's for sure.
And that's for this season with you guys, and then University of Maine next year's. He's the type of kid that Farrell's on the ice. You got to pay attention to him, right?
Yeah, I would think his whole line right now with Wildauer and Reagan Kimmins, they're dangerous. Reagan's a real heavy hockey player, plays up the middle and, has a heavy shot, can make plays, puck possession type. So that line right now is going to be getting, since we put it together, I think we've gone on this little 4-game win streak.
And talking about Dallas and that, and with the BCHL overall, but for you as a coach in Coquitlam, can we talk a little bit? You bring in these young players, as I say, to us, 18 is still young for 1 season, and then a lot of times you only have them for 1 season, and then they're off to university because of the opportunities that they have from the BCHL. Does that affect the franchise of only having players for 1 year?
Well, I think it could. It depends though, because some of our guys are 2 years, some of our guys are 1 year, depending on when they come in. Um, I don't control that. Hockey Canada does, but the way it works is we can't take any players from outside our province until they're 18. It wasn't really something I paid attention to when I was in Toronto coaching. We usually didn't have a whole lot of billets, but I knew the Americans. I couldn't take any Americans in Toronto until they were 18 or the year they were turning 18. So it makes a difference. So you're getting a kid at 18, he's graduated high school, and they're there for maybe a year, maybe two, sometimes three, depending on it, but most of the time it's 2 years. And I think a player comes in, 2 years is ideal. Like, we have some guys on 2 years, but next year we have a lot of bodies that'll be moving on. But it's a recruiting hockey league. These coaches that are out here, they've been doing this for a long time, and I found out last year that you have to go out and recruit. And we didn't have a lot of mainland kids from Vancouver area that wanted to come to our program. We spoke to many, but we're not the preferred destination. So we're trying to change that. We're trying to revamp our image, rebrand. It's something that I believe, if this club wants to be successful, we have a phenomenal ownership. So there should be no reason why we're not successful if we do things the right way. And let's face it, everyone wants to make sure that you have a good team, you don't overspend, and you put something on the ice that people are proud of.
Exactly, and coming from I'm based in Ontario and being around junior hockey for most of my life, it's something that, going back to all the 10 teams across the country, but with junior players, if they can make the BCHL, to them that's the cream of the crop, and that's saying something about the BCHL, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely easier to recruit out here than it was when I was in Ontario. I can go out and approach American players that are committed. Like, I think we have 9 Division I committed players on our roster, and last year in the playoffs, the team we lost to ended up, I think they had 4 NHL drafted players on their roster and 18 Division I committed players. So, and I think last year we were at 7 on this team, and this team finished in 16th place. And I don't think there'd be very many teams outside of BC that had more than 7 Division I players on it. So the level of play in BC is, I've said it before, any given night you're gonna lose if you don't show up to play and respect your opponent and have that work ethic.
And like I say, we've known each other for a few years, but coming into Coquitlam last year in November, was anybody surprised of, say, Jason, the change what you brought in compared to the past, being, say, your style of coaching?
Well, I think I took the job knowing that I believe I could make a difference here. After speaking with the president, Mark Petty, and the ownership, I had some demands on, if I was going to come in, I need to be able to do some things, and they also had some demands from me that if I was going to come in, that I would have to respect these type of things. It was pretty harmonious, what I believe a coach employer should be, and they've been great with me. And it's, you come into a team, they're 3 wins, 22 losses, and 1 tie. Let's face it, they're at the bottom of the bottom. I'm sure the players are looking for they're looking for something new. And when I came in, it was just a different voice. I didn't really come in and do a whole lot of structure. We're going to change everything. I'd only watched them play 4 times before. So I tried to do as much homework as I could on the players. And it was something that, it was tough. It was stressful. Like, coming in, and it didn't have a staff. The whole staff had been gone. They weren't relieved of their duties. The assistant coach took a job in Calgary and had given his month notice before I got here. And the therapist had given her notice as well that she was going to be going because of her job. There was something at her workplace that she needed to be there at different times. So I come in here and it was a little bit of a mess when I first got here, but we made some changes, and when we just basically changed the accountability factor and our work ethic demands, and what it means to be a hockey team. It's not about where you're going next year; it's about where you are today. And you know, we have a line this year that we've really implemented into our thing. Appreciation comes before expectation. Appreciate what people are doing for you. There's an ownership group here that takes care of them. There's a lot of things that these kids get provided. The billet families do unbelievable for them. Our staff is doing our best to make sure that they're prepared. So appreciate that before you expect anything. So if you show your appreciation, everything's going to be just fine.
And you're 8 games into the season, and you still have 40+ games. What are your goals for the upcoming season and your long-term goals as a coach?
Well, I think as a team right now, our goals are to try and win a championship this year. People laughed at me when I said that this summer. And they're like, "Oh, okay, that's a little grand." Well, what am I here for? Is the way I kind of figure. We're here to win. So that's the goal. Now, is it reality? Maybe, maybe not. But sometimes in reality, it's nice to have a vision of something different. And I could tell you that that's going to be the plan. That's what we're shooting for, and that's what we're working for. So, every game we want to make sure we're playing our best. And our motto for our culture that we're trying to build is, did you get better today? So we're just trying to get better every day and see how it falls. And in long term for me, obviously I want to be a head coach major junior level. That's been my dream. That's been my goal since I was thinking of being a coach. It was never, I don't see myself coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs. I understand that that's probably not in the cards. And, I don't even know if coaching adults is where I'm best fit. I believe I can connect with the youth, and I think there's something that gives me satisfaction with younger players that, they're a little bit more coachable. I could say that. And I've had experience of both, guys that aren't overly coachable and guys that are. And when you can work with a group of people that are coachable, it is such a satisfying job. And to see them like soak in what you say, or just doing video with players that want to get better, it makes a big difference. So, my goal would be to get to major junior, and if it doesn't, I'll coach junior A until they tell me I can't, or until my body tells me I can't.
And that's something. And if the biggest thing is helping these kids, to us they're still kids, the gratification of helping them to succeed and also move on to the next level, right?
Yeah, fundamentally, I changed 5 years ago. I was always tight with my kids. I was always, pretty open, and I like to talk to them and, be a mentor to some degree. But I really started focusing on relationships, and I couldn't really build a relationship until they were open to it. So, there's finding ways to get through to that, spending more time with them, and I think the last 4 or 5 years, I've had a ton of players that have come up and visited me. I had a player last week that I coached 10 years ago that came up to Vancouver with his girlfriend, stopped in at our game and came to see me. And, it's those things that for him, he wouldn't even realize what that means. But it meant a lot to me.
Oh, and that
meant a lot that somebody did that.
Oh, I apologize. And that goes going back to, you're from Sault Ste. Marie. I'm in Sault Ste. Marie, and that's going back to being a small town hockey community here. I use like Abby Caricato or somebody like that, where you can just walk up to them and say, "Coach, they don't realize it, but thanks for what you did 20 years ago," right?
Yeah, I've said it to Johnny Fuselli numerous times, and he knows how I feel, what he's done, and how he's helped me. And, he's helped shape. There's been a lot of the coaches that helped shape who I wanted to become as a coach. But for sure, you want players that when they leave your program, my purpose isn't to have them like me. My purpose isn't to have them, "Oh, that guy's my friend." I want them to feel they could trust me. I want them to feel that they've had an opportunity to be pushed by me. And I've had the opportunity to try and push them. I want them to go out and succeed. And I'm not a sugarcoat guy. I'm not a a guy that likes to create a bunch of false hope in players. I really try and do it through honesty and show a lot of video and explain why I'm doing things. And, you know, I hope, you know, what I do over this lifetime in hockey, that at least the one thing is players will respect my work ethic and desire to help them.
And that goes back to I use growing up is if you would have told us years ago that you'd be friends with your parents afterwards, today you end up being where this player walking up to you and not saying you had every moment was pleasant with the two of you, but it showed something for him to come up and visit you, didn't it?
For sure. You know what? I traded a kid and cut a kid at 17 one time, and he came back to play for me at 20. I had rules. He didn't want to live by them. He didn't want to abide by them within my locker room. He was gone. Well, 20 years old, he wanted to come back and play and said, no, he knows he made a mistake. Came back, was a great player for us, assistant captain. 6 years later, he ends up rooming with me for 6 months while he's waiting on a job. And it was like, the kid's 26. He's done unbelievable for himself. He's got a great job. Basically, I was so proud of the fact that, that kid has done so well for him. And, I was in Kitchener and that's where he lived. And I had a 3-bedroom townhouse. I had no problem if he wants to stay in one of the rooms. It worked out just fine. And you know what? To me, that's the stuff that, if players respect you enough that they're willing to consider you somebody that they value, that's pretty important.
And it shows that you're doing something right.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yes. Well, Jay, I can't thank you enough for being a guest, and hopefully we can do this going into the playoffs when you're sitting near to the top of the rankings, if not at the top.
Well, I hope so.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Jay.